Welcome everyone to our episode 52 of our podcast Cultivating a New Generation. In today's episode, we are going to discuss in the section of Drops of Wisdom the book Simple Habits for Complex Times. Because we are living in complex times, and the authors of this book is Jennifer Garvey Berger and Keith Johnston. We are going to discuss the topic of solve your problems with simple habits. We don't really need to overcomplicate situations. We just really need to change our perspective of how we approach life and use the time when we are on calm waters. Every one of us has challenges, has problems, and has unexpected situations that require us to have a mindset that learns to develop simpler, practical solutions instead of ruminating on the issues that we have and draining all our energy. The world is a very different place than it used to be, and there are more people, more ways to communicate, and everything from supply lines to personal networks can now span around the globe, and I can be here in Mexico speaking, and I can be having a conversation with someone in Australia or New Zealand or Korea or India, whatever the country it is, and that's an amazing thing that we can have, but it's also adding complexity. All this integrate connection or interconnection gives rise to a set of conditions that we can abbreviate, and it is used this abbreviation as VUCA in the book: volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. So this stands for a particular challenge to leaders, a category that includes everyone from the heads of big business to parents and teachers, because we are all leaders in our lives, whether it is of our own family, whether it is of a small group, or whether we have many people under our wing. Leaders have traditionally made decisions about the future examining the past, but nowadays we can't trust on the past to prognosticate, and we have a very recent and good example of what happened. What happened in the last pandemic, people and pseudoscientists try to decide everything with the worst conditions just because they use the past of other pandemic states to prognosticate what would be better, and they end up destroying the economy and damaging a lot of people in terms of mental health and, of course, social interaction and immunity. So the past is no longer a great predictor of what is to come. So we have to change perspective, and we have to be more curious. Effective leaders need to cultivate three crucial mental habits. First, they need to practice asking different questions. You should always ask questions. You should always be curious and broaden your thinking rather than narrow it. For instance, if something goes wrong, don't just ask what happened. Also ask what else could have happened. And second, leaders need to take multiple perspectives of the things that they are witnessing. Don't simply rely on the own point of view, on your own point of view. Making an effort to understand how others see a situation will always feed you with new ideas. Even if you disagree, the difference in thinking or reasoning could provide valuable insight. Third, and finally, leaders need to see systems. This means taking a step back and watching the things from another angle and from unexpected conditions. It's easy to look at the world as a series of single causes and effects, but that's not the way it works. It's more accurate to see the world as a web, as a spider web, in fact, where each action has multiple causes and multiple effects. And there are a lot of people involved, and there is a lot of impact that you can cause with a simple decision. The ability to understand the basic concept of cause and effect was a huge advantage to our ancestors. For early humans, connecting some past event with the future and taking a decision and taking positive or negative outcomes was the difference between life and death, because it was a matter of survival. And as a result, our brains evolved to see this simple narrative everywhere. And that's the default mode of deciding things, just using the past to decide the future, and that's not the way it is supposed to be. Sometimes the past is an excellent predictor of the future. Sometimes. For example, if you got sick the last time you ate some expired sushi, there's a good chance that will happen if you try it again. So, or you might not be in a vulnerable situation. So, however, this pattern doesn't always hold. Just because people bought tons of VHS tapes the last decade doesn't mean they will do it again the years to come. And just because people in these 3 years ago, when the pandemic started, bought immense amount of toilet paper, hopefully in the next pandemic we won't do these same irrational decisions, and we will act with better understanding of the things. If a system defies the linear cause and effect pattern, then it is a complex system, and it requires a different way of thinking. To fix a broken complex system, you can't just analyze individual negative results. The exact circumstances that produce them may never occur again. Instead, you can focus on the processes and the system, and then you can really make for the solution. And that's what happens also in health. Many physicians and medical doctors are just prescribing drugs, and they are just listening to the symptom, but they are not going beyond there. And they could fix a lot of problems if they just rely more on curiosity and understand more the patient and why the patient is taking some kind of decisions and why he's acting that way. So it is not as simple as just giving a pill and that's it, because you can destroy lives just by taking those decisions. So now we need a different mindset. For example, picture this scene. It's a performance review time in a high-power consulting firm. It's been a rough year with a lot of change, and the stressed-out senior director sits at her desk, and across from her is an equally frazzled employee that probably it is more stressed because he doesn't or she doesn't even know what is going to happen after this meeting. So now there is a question. In this situation, who would you rather be? Well, it turns out that most people would rather be neither of those people. So giving and getting feedback, it's an important and essential and yet unpleasant part of any job. It can be tense and tedious and stressful, but if done properly, it can even result in more problems down the road if done poorly. If done well, you can really change the life of people by really improving communication and creating more trust. So all of those issues can be avoided if you make it a two-way street. You give feedback to your employee or to your partner or to your child, and you listen to the feedback from them. And that's a two-way street where everybody wins, because you listen to the perspective and to the reasons of the other person to act or to decide certain things, and now you have more information to see that it was not just because they didn't want to do the things, or because they were hurtful or they had other negative reasons. So, how can we summarize this information into just two um, phrases? The first one is the individual best suited to confront change and complexity are those that adapt to shifting conditions. Adapt is the key word. They grow to meet new realities, see new challenges as a chance to cultivate skills, new skills, and approach an unstable world with agility. That's the first phrase. And the second one is there are two types of people in the world. The first type see themselves in a completely stable way, and they think that their identity is fixed and static, which is, for most of us, not that. And the second type of person sees themselves as dynamic, as always trying to grow and learn. And that's a mindset and identity that we should have in this kind of world, because it is volatile, it is unexpected things can happen. We have ambiguity and we have complexity, and uncertainty is something that is always there. So the best way to face this uncertainty is with adaptability. Thank you very much for listening. Have a wonderful Wednesday afternoon, and if you like and resonate with this topic and these lessons, you know what to do. Thank you. We will listen to each other next Wednesday. Bye.